Oh. Hello, my name's Chad Balser. I'm here to talk about loss of a spouse. Roughly 2 years ago, it was actually May 5th, 2022, my wife passed away. She'd been struggling with all types of medical issues. It started off with a pancreatic tumor, which was removed and then caused liver failure. She had a liver transplant. She was in the hospital off and on for a year and a half, roughly. Much of that time, she was unconscious. I think on her passing, I thought I could do it on my own. I thought I could figure out my way through it. I thought I could read up on it. I thought I could figure out what to do next, help myself through the grief. I filled my time up with work, and I ramped up my volunteering at church. I tried to stay busy. I did as much as I could all the time. I made sure my kids were taken care of. I made sure that they were getting help. I made sure that they were processing their grief and working on their grief. But myself, I was delaying dealing with my grief. What I found is that while I was busy, while I was focused on other things, I was doing okay. But then my drive to work, my time alone, the quiet times were just overwhelming. I always thought I was stronger than that. I always thought that I could handle about anything thrown at me, and I quickly learned I couldn't. I was very hesitant to go to Grief Share. It's more, I don't know if it's pride in myself. I don't know what it was, but I think it took seeing me fail over and over again, trying to deal with this grief, and then even getting encouragement from my own kids. Dad, you need to talk to somebody. You really need to see somebody. My first class I went to was loss of a spouse. And I remember sitting there and hearing the various stories in the room, hearing everyone else's story, telling my story, and watching the video. And the video had people who had lost spouses, people that had already been working on navigating this grief journey. And so much stuff made sense. The chaos that I had experienced, the randomness of emotions, the inability to make decisions, the inability to function some days, all of a sudden started to make sense. And I realized these guys know what they're talking about. They're ahead of me. I need this and I want this. It's been such a big impact on my life that I'm here to encourage people. I know not everyone has lost a spouse, but I know many of us know people who've lost a spouse. I've found I've started to make a lot of friends with other people that have lost spouses of all ages. And we all are in the same boat. We're all dealing with the same things. We're all processing things and trying to move forward. With a loss of a spouse, there are certain aspects of that grief that are different than all other forms of grief. And to everyone out there who doesn't know, it's a good thing. You had hopes, you had dreams, you had plans, you had your friendship, you have your love of your spouse. There was no timeline to that. There was no end date that you had planned. So it doesn't matter if you're young and lose a spouse or if you're old and lose a spouse. I understand why in the Bible we talk about taking care of widows, and I truly feel it's because of the emotional loss, more so now than anything else. And that's because however long you were married, for me, it was 23 years. We've been together for 24 years. There was no timeline. We had lots of dreams and hopes. And I know that those that are in their 70s that lose their spouse, there's no timeline. They're still looking forward, hopes and dreams and friendship and love. And when it's ripped out, it's quite literally ripped out of your heart. And it leaves a mess. It destroys a lot inside you. Another big thing that loss of a spouse talks about that's unique to losing a spouse is a secondary loss. For me, my wife and I were best friends. We were such best friends that we really didn't have too many other friends. We hardly made any decisions without each other. We hardly did anything without each other. If I wanted to go golfing, she wanted to go with me, even if it was just to sit in a cart. If she wanted to go to a craft fair, I went with her, even if I just walked around and looked at stuff. For many spouses, a secondary loss can be more impactful. It could be they took care of the finances, or they took care of the lawn, or they took care of fixing the car, maintaining this. They took care of cleaning, cooking. They took care of all these things. So in the middle of your loss and dealing with all your emotions, you also have to figure out, what am I going to do about all these things that my spouse used to help me with? For me, it was, I had to become a mom to 2 teenage daughters. I had to do things that my wife was so good at, and I struggled to deal with. It's really difficult too, because you love your spouse with all your heart. Even after they're gone, you still find yourself talking to them, asking them their opinion. Even though in faith you know that they're enjoying a life that someday you wish to enjoy with them. And that you need to turn your questions and your hope towards God. So this will be my 3rd loss of a spouse I'm going to be attending. I know that there's going to be others there that I would easily call my friends that have also been through loss of a spouse and grief share with me. And that's a big part of what grief share is. It's not trying to fix the grief. It's not trying to move on. It's helping you to move forward. And that's a key difference there. You're moving forward with your grief, healing along the way, not forgetting your loved one, making sure that they become part of who you are, and that you find the new normal, that you find a peace and a hope that will help you to help others. They do such a good job that it encourages people like myself to get involved and spread the word, to let them know they helped me, then they can help you. They can help your loved ones. They can help your mother, your father, your uncle, your aunt, your cousin. They can help anyone who's lost a spouse to help process that grief and start down the road of healing.